Hey guys, this is Matt Taub. I'm a financial advisor. We're talking about using an annuity to do a Roth conversion and kind of how that works. So, first of all, Roth Conversions 101. If you have money that is in a 401k or what's called a traditional IRA, this is pre-tax money that is going to be subject to income taxes on the way out. So, the more this balance grows, the larger the bill is to the IRS for the income tax they're going to take out, and that's going to be subject to your income tax bracket upon your withdrawal. And so if you don't take the money out at any point, eventually the IRS will force you to take withdrawals via required minimum distributions. So we have some clients who say, look, I'd like this money to grow but not also have a tax bill associated with it grow, and I'd like to be able to take it when I want to without taxation and certainly without being forced to take the money out later if I don't need it. With all that in mind, people contemplate what's called a Roth conversion. And so they take these balances and they actually convert them into what ultimately becomes a Roth IRA, where the money can grow unimpeded. There's no requirement to take distributions at any point. So both the balance and future growth and withdrawals are all tax-free. People kind of view this as the holy grail, like the money is now set free from future obligations. So obviously there's a cost to do this, which is that if you convert money from pre-tax to Roth in the year that you do it, that shows up as income for that year that you're going to have to pay taxes on. And so in addition to that, there's also going to be a new 5-year lockup or restriction on the newly Roth converted money. So people sometimes mistake the idea that because I opened a Roth IRA many years ago, I'm beyond this 5-year rule for Roth IRAs. Actually, no. Even if you have a Roth IRA for 2 decades, if you Roth convert a balance that was pre-tax into Roth, that Roth converted piece will be subject to a 5-year clock. If you want to look this up, it's something called IRS ordering rules. It'll make you have a headache. But take our word for it. It's just something to plan on and get ahead of, is not just Roth converting it, but then having to wait 5 years for each balance that you Roth convert. You can pay the Roth tax when you do a Roth conversion from other sources. You don't have to pay it from that balance. So if you did have other money in savings or cash on hand or what have you, or other accounts, that often is a way to get more money or the full balance converted to Roth, versus the other way to do it is really to Roth convert pre-tax money, but not all of it makes it over. You lose some of it. The IRS takes a bite of the apple that you pulled off the tree, and you get maybe 3/4 or 2/3 of the money over to the Roth converted bucket, depending on what your tax bracket is. How do we execute this process in the most efficient manner? That's really the reason we're here. There's many ways to do it. You can keep the money invested, pay an advisor like myself an annual fee, have potential gains in the market, although you don't want gains while you're trying to Roth convert the money because that's more owed in taxes, but you don't want market losses at the same time because then you've paid more taxes than you needed to. So we want to eliminate the market risk or uncertainty. We actually want to eliminate my advisor fee during this process, and we want to make sure we're not paying any additional taxes than we have to, either because the money gains and we have to pay more during the Roth conversion, or it subsequently loses value just after a Roth conversion and we paid more than we needed to. So the way we do that, first of all, before we get into it, let's back up into the world of what you can put IRA or 401k money in, and here's the whole gamut of sort of the risk and reward spectrum. A lot of times people are unfamiliar with annuities and they have a critique that they've heard from Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman or someone that annuities have high fees and they're not good. And really the response to that is not all annuities are created equal. There's many different types. So we're not talking about something called variable annuities, which do have pretty high annual fees and are still subject to market risk. We're looking for things kind of below this horizontal line in the middle of the screen here. And really around there is where we can look on a kind of a corridor of what kind of returns we can realistically get with full principal protection and no fees on our money. And so really when we look at fixed index annuities, it's the highest potential yield. If we're not talking about the Roth conversion just yet, generally the restriction is that only 10% of the balance is available each year through what's called a surrender period. In the case of a Roth conversion, your money's already locked up. None of it's available for 5 years for each Roth converted piece. So that's not really the goal here anyway. So let's look at fixed index annuities generally, and then we'll look specifically at the type we might use for a Roth conversion. So what is a fixed index annuity? Generally, what these products do is they let you capture the gains of a market index. Here's an example like the S&P 500, which is in orange, and your account as a fixed index annuity would be in the dark blue. And what you really see here is that the fixed index annuity allows you to capture the gains when the index, like the S&P 500, goes up. But in the years that there's a terrible downturn in the market, you don't participate in the losses, you just stay neutral. And in this case, this person has what's called 1 year crediting. So if the market goes up, they see a credit to their account. If the market goes down, they don't gain anything, but they don't lose anything, and they repeat and go again. So obviously a very favorable thing to do if you had known in 1999 that that was the peak of the market, and then you can from there capture all the gains but avoid all of the pitfalls and headaches through the 2008 financial crisis. So you can design these to have bells and whistles. We don't. We don't want any kind of fees on these things, not from the annuity company, not from us, so no strategy charge or any kind of additional thing that you could add. We want it to be that there's just full principal protection, not even fees eating away at it. If you're not doing a Roth conversion, generally there's no tax benefit to doing this. If it's IRA money that goes in here, it remains an IRA. It has the same tax deferred status, and it's an IRA on the other end of the surrender period. It can either stay in the annuity, go back to the market. It's an IRA the whole time with income taxes on the way out. So we are adding an additional sort of feature here or idea, which is to use this structure, which normally would just maintain its status as a traditional IRA. And we're trying to say, can we do something here where we use it specifically for a Roth conversion? And so in that case, we actually would look at not 1 year crediting of an index. We actually would use a product that has a 7-year crediting, which can seem very frustrating and odd, but we'll explain why. So let's look at a fixed index annuity that you actually sit in an index, the S&P 500 in this case, for 7 years, but during that time you don't get any sort of benefit or gains. You will at the very end, but while you're in that index, the account value stays neutral. You're waiting for that crediting to pop in year 7. So most people would find this to be incredibly frustrating and difficult to stomach. But why would you do this? The reason is that during that time, you're keeping your balance at a known certain amount, and you can Roth convert either all at once or what's called staggered or partial Roth conversions along the way. So in this case, obviously you wouldn't do $100 into an annuity. If you did, you would convert it at $33, $34 is an example of a 3-year conversion schedule. If you want to think like $100,000 into this structure, $33,000, $33,000, $34,000. And if you did that right at the end of 7 years, the first 2 conversions for sure, and the last conversion a year out of the surrender, all of it is accessible, but also all of it is Roth. So now think about the fact that if we paid the Roth tax from other sources, and we have now a fully $100 or $100,000 Roth account after year 3, year 7 we get that crediting, and that crediting is entirely credited as Roth to a Roth account. And that is something that's very favorable to people, where they see that they can kind of sneak under the radar, get these Roth conversions done, but they don't risk missing out in the market. And so they can, with no advisor fees and no market risk, get their Roth conversions done, a little surreptitiously, and then get the crediting all as Roth. In this case, let's say it wasn't $100, but $100,000. This happened to be a terrific time in the market if you had done this, 2016 to 2023. You would have had $33,000 conversions over 3 years. Let's say you were in the 22% tax bracket. You could argue with me, well, I have no income during that time. I would be in the 12%. Or you could tell me you had other income and you'd be 24 or higher. Let's say it was the full 22. $7,260 a year times 3 to the IRS to get this done, but you pay that from other sources. And at the end, as you can see, the $100 grew to over $260. So $100,000 would have become $260,000 of Roth money, and you had to pay about $23,000 to the IRS to get that done. Obviously, very advantageous, and no advisor fees and no market risk. So I do want to talk about a few things that would be, what's the catch or what are the downsides? The downside would be that you're seeing really great crediting, and then we have like a 2022 in that last year. right? I mean, that's really the thing you're kind of betting on, is that this doesn't happen. But even if it did, you still have no fees and no market risk. It's not the case that if something catastrophic happened, you would participate in this kind of downturn. That wouldn't be the case. So worst case scenario, you get your Roth conversions done. There were no fees during the time you did it, and no market risk. Most likely, you're going to have something between this absolutely terrific return and that horrible scenario I just mentioned, probably something in the realm of, like I said, a 6 to 7% annualized return. If you looked at 2016 to 2023, it's like a 15% annualized return if you had done this, which is a bit too optimistic going forward the way we look at the markets. But I think 6 to 7%, reasonable expectation based on this strategy. So there is some literature I can send you that talks about how this works, but basically, if you use this fixed index annuity structure, you don't have to do the Roth conversions. You don't have to do them all at once. You don't have to do them on a certain set schedule. You can change your mind. It's completely optional whether you want to do that, but you could use surplus income or other sources to Roth convert portions of the balance along the way. And what it would look like is that the fixed index annuity, it would still be one major account or fixed index annuity with an annuity company, but then behind the scenes you'd have two sub-accounts of your original IRA, and then the conversions would become a Roth IRA sub-account within the portal of the annuity company when you look at your balances. And so at the end, as you can see here, the total amount is tax-free, and any gains in subsequent years, like that year 7 crediting, would be tax-free. So who do we use in this space, and who do we find to be good companies for this? We're contracted with any and all annuity companies out there. Some are not so great, some are mediocre, and some are excellent. And so it's similar to the world of investments, right? You rely on an advisor to help you source and sort of curate the world of companies and offerings out there. Generally, the criteria on the right side of the page are well-capitalized companies, strong track record in this space, consistent results that have existed for a long time. For this particular strategy, we're looking at a company called Athene. They have a product called the AccuMax 7. Again, it's a 7-year lockup period or surrender period. You're tracking the S&P 500 for 7 years with no crediting along the way until the very end. And that's on purpose and by design to do these Roth conversions in the meantime. After that single crediting after 7 years, you get whatever the market had to bear. There were no fees from an advisor or the annuity company during that time. You had 100% principal protection, and when you're done, the money can stay there. It can go to another fixed index annuity. It can go back to the market. It would be a Roth IRA in all cases. And so that's really the approach. And we are looking at a few other companies that have partial Roth conversions or coming soon have partial Roth conversions. So when we talk, we may direct you away from the Athene product and take a look at American Equity, which has some solutions here, and North American, very strong company that we like a lot, is debuting some solutions in this space as well. I hope this is helpful, and we're happy to show you how this would work based on the premium that you can commit and what surplus sources you have to pay off the Roth conversions along the way.